Welcome to Badasses. I'm your host, Kai Armstrong. Today on Badasses, have you ever watched a dream burn to the ground? Today, we witness Colonel Sanders turn ashes into an empire, only to face a betrayal so deep it threatened to erase his life's work. What happens when your vision is no longer yours? Picture a weathered hand hovering over a plate of fried chicken, steam rising in tendrils through the dim kitchen light. The year is 1964, and Colonel Harland Sanders has just made the hardest decision of his life. At age 74, he sold his beloved Kentucky Fried Chicken empire for $2 million. But this isn't a story about selling out. It's about what happens when the world tells you you're too old, too stubborn, or too late to chase your dreams. Death came knocking early for young Harland Sanders. At age 6, his father's passing forced him into a role no child should bear. While other kids played in the Indiana sunshine, Sanders stood on a wooden stool in his family's kitchen, learning to cook for his younger siblings. The sizzle of meat, the warmth of the stove, the desperate need to keep his family fed. These weren't just moments, they were the first ingredients in a recipe that would take decades to perfect. You might recognize this feeling, that weight of responsibility crushing down on your shoulders, stealing your childhood dreams. But what if that weight isn't crushing you at all? What if it's forging you into something stronger? The world had other plans for Sanders. His stepfather's arrival pushed him out of school in 7th grade. What followed was a dizzying carousel of jobs: farmhand, streetcar conductor, insurance salesman. Each position ended the same way. Too headstrong, too different, too much of everything the world didn't want. But here's what most people miss about failure. It's not about the fall. It's about how the landing reshapes you. Every rejection carved new grooves into Sanders' determination, like water cutting through stone. Each no became another reason to prove them wrong. By 1930, Sanders found himself running a service station in Corbin, Kentucky. The Great Depression had its teeth in America's throat, and hungry travelers would stop for gas with empty stomachs and emptier wallets. This is where the magic began. In a small back room, Sanders started serving meals. Not just any meals, his chicken. You see, when the world pushes you into a corner, sometimes that corner is exactly where you need to be. The tight space forces you to innovate, to create, to become something entirely new. Innovation isn't always about inventing something new. Sometimes it's about perfecting what already exists. Sanders obsessed over his chicken recipe, testing combinations of herbs and spices like an alchemist searching for gold. But his real breakthrough came with the pressure cooker. While others stuck to traditional methods, Sanders saw potential in this modern tool. It cooked chicken faster, kept it juicier, made it better. Think about that for a moment. While others clung to the way things have always been done, this man in his 60s embraced change. He wasn't too proud to adapt, too set in his ways to innovate. Are you? Success has a funny way of setting up its own obstacles. Just as Sanders' restaurant was thriving, progress threatened to destroy everything. Interstate 75 was coming, and it would bypass his location entirely. This wasn't just a setback. This was an ultimatum from the universe: adapt or die. At age 65, when most people are settling into retirement, Sanders made a decision that would define his legacy. He took his recipe on the road, determined to franchise his chicken across America. But the world wasn't ready to take a chance on an elderly man with a dream. If you're enjoying Badasses, please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code for our free 7-day email course, The Mental Fortitude Challenge. Explode your confidence by channeling strategies from Roosevelt, Bruce Lee, and more. Now back to the episode. Rejection became Sanders' constant companion. Door after door slammed in his face. Restaurant owners saw an old man in a white suit, not a visionary with a golden recipe. 1,009 times they said no. Let that sink in. 1,009 rejections. Most people wouldn't survive 10, but Sanders wasn't most people. Each no refined his pitch. Each door that closed taught him something new. When people ask about overnight success, they miss the years spent knocking on doors, sleeping in cars, and refusing to give up. Success isn't a moment. It's a war of attrition against doubt. In 1952, Pete Harmon in Salt Lake City became the first to say yes. One restaurant, that's all it took. Like a spark in dry timber, Kentucky Fried Chicken began to spread. 5 years later, Sanders had 200 franchises across the country. By 1964, there were 600 locations selling his chicken, his recipe, his dream. But success brings its own kind of pressure. Corporate interests began circling, seeing dollar signs where Sanders saw family recipes and quality standards. The choice he faced wasn't just about money, it was about legacy. When Sanders sold KFC for $2 million in 1964, he didn't just sell a business. He sold his name, his image, his life's work. But he refused to sell his principles. As the company grew, he watched in horror as they changed his recipes, cut corners, compromised quality. You might think this is where the story ends. An old man, bitter about changes to his beloved creation. But Sanders wasn't finished fighting. Even after the sale, well into his 80s, he traveled 250,000 miles a year, visiting KFC restaurants worldwide. Not because he had to, but because he believed in something bigger than himself. When Sanders passed away in 1980, his legacy wasn't just 6,000 KFC restaurants across the world. It wasn't the iconic white suit or the secret recipe. His true legacy was proving that success doesn't have an expiration date, that your dreams don't come with an age limit. Think about where you are right now. What dreams have you shelved because someone told you it was too late? What passion have you buried because the world said you missed your chance? Here's the truth that Colonel Sanders' life teaches us. The only expiration date on your dreams is the one you put there. This isn't just about chicken. It's about having the audacity to start at 65, the resilience to face 1,009 rejections, and the principles to stand by your values even when success tries to change them. Your life's recipe isn't written in stone. Every day you have the chance to adjust the ingredients, to try again, to prove the doubters wrong. The question isn't whether you're too old, too different, or too late. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Remember that weathered hand we started with, the one hovering over that plate of chicken. That hand belonged to a man who refused to accept the world's limitations. Now it's your turn. What's your recipe for defiance? The world is waiting for your secret ingredients. It's never too late to start cooking. On the next episode of Badasses, Colonel Sanders proved that grit knows no age, transforming perceived setbacks into stepping stones. But what happens when that grit collides with the unforgiving lens of the world? What if I told you the next story isn't just about building a business, but about building an image? The image of others, and more importantly, the image of yourself. Prepare to witness a different kind of transformation, one that unfolds not in the kitchen, but behind the camera. Next week, we delve into artistic innovation, exploring how individuals break boundaries and redefine creative expression. Our next subject fearlessly captured the zeitgeist, transforming fleeting moments into iconic images that shaped our cultural landscape, leaving an indelible mark on the world of photography. Please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code or follow the pinned link to get our free 7-day email course, the 7-Day Mental Fortitude Challenge. What if 7 days could make you bulletproof? Steal confidence strategies from warriors, rebels, and icons who turned panic into power. Click the video that just popped up to watch the next one in this series. Or for episode summaries, behind-the-scenes info, and more, go to daily8.com/BA. Thanks for watching.